Good afternoon from London. How's it going? Alright, YouTube Live. Always confuses me every single time. I never know what I'm doing. Alright, so today is a little bit different. As you can see, this is a live video. And we've got David Bowie in the back. Where is he? He's over there. You might get a few of those things throughout this the course of this this live stream. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about the big G. Can I make a G? I don't know. The big G. It is, of course, grammar. And grammar is something I've been talking about a lot lately, as you will know if you've been following what I've been doing. Now, what I'm going to do in this video... Oh yeah, someone gave me a thumbs up. That's cool. Hi, Lily. Can everyone... If you're seeing this, please... What do you do? Do you give a thumbs up? I don't know. Hearts. Come and give me a few thumbs up so I know that you are there. So today in this video, what I'm going to do is two things. First of all, I'm going to tell you why you find grammar so difficult. And then secondly, I'm going to tell you about a brand new program that I've created called Grammar Hero, which aims to make grammar easy. Okay, so this is talking about grammar, and then it is going to be a pitch for this program. So if you find grammar easy and you don't like sales pitches, then this is not a video for you. So you might like to go and watch some cat videos or something. Also, a quick heads up, if you're watching this video between the 9th and the 16th of November, then for this program, for Grammar Hero, we have a very special offer where you can actually get 5 of the languages for free. So it's a pretty good deal, and that is currently available. I will put a link to that below in the comments after this video. So, grammar. If you have spent any time learning languages, you will have tried to learn grammar, and the chances are you will have come unstuck at some point. Here's the typical experience we have as language learners. We feel that we are translating in our heads when we try to speak a foreign language. We feel like we rely on English to get our thoughts across. The thing that we think most of all is, how can I stop translating in my head, and how can I learn to think? How can I start to think in the target language? Are you familiar with those thoughts, those questions? Does that sound familiar? Now, that's the way that we think about grammar. And the truth is that there is no switch that you can flick that stops you translating in your head. There is no switch that you can flick that makes you... there's no trick that you can pull to suddenly start thinking in the target language. That would be a superhuman feat to suddenly transplant. So you spend all your time, for example, trying to learn the present perfect, and then you learn the rules of the present perfect and so on, and then, of course, when you come to speak with somebody, what's in your head? It's these rules, these conjugations, these exceptions, all these different things. Okay. That's fine for a few simple things, but when you actually start to reach higher levels in the language, you just have too much to hold in your head. There's too many rules, there's too many exceptions. We can't learn this stuff logically in a rules-based way like that. And we can't do it. Children don't learn that way. Immigrants who go to another country don't learn that way. By immersing yourself in the language, that is how you create this new reality for yourself and gradually get used to thinking in the language and using grammar accurately rather than just thinking in rules all the time. Okay, this is the problem. Now, the reason that we all do this is because the education system likes to break things down and teach them to us bit by bit. In school, you were taught rules. In books, lectures on the blackboard about the rules and the exceptions, and then you were taught to practice it, and then you were given tests. Does that sound familiar? Give me a comment. Tell me yes if that sounds familiar. That's what happens to almost everybody. All right. And so because that's the way the school system teaches, that's the way as adults we then start to learn grammar. All right. But if you speak to people who have gone out and successfully learned lots of languages, they may have looked at the rules, they may have done a little bit of grammar study, but the thing that they did far more than that was to immerse themselves in the language so they can see grammar in context, because it's when you do a lot of that that you eventually end up in a point where you can actually think in the language. Okay, so rules can be helpful. Right? It can be helpful to look at the way that grammar works, what the present perfect is for, the role it fulfills, the role it plays in communicating in the language. Right? But that is not the way that you actually you don't get from there to a point where you're speaking the language fluently and accurately. Okay. Instead, you have to get there through controlled immersion. That's the way it works. So, hopefully, I won't get kicked out of this room. We'll see what happens. So, Grammar Hero is the solution that I've created to this. All right. Now, Grammar Hero is a new program. We have it in 6 languages. It's Spanish, French, Italian, German, Russian, and Brazilian Portuguese. And Portuguese and Russian in particular are languages that lots of you guys have been requesting over the years. So this time I thought I would actually create the program in those languages too. And what Grammar Hero does is it helps you to learn and internalize the grammar of your target language so that you can learn to speak with more freedom, more accuracy, and more confidence. That's what we do. So what I thought I'd do here is to show you my screen and actually give you a little walkthrough, a little preview of Grammar Hero and tell you how it works so that you can decide whether it's something that you think would help you or not. Okay, now I should say at this point that Grammar Hero is aimed at A2 to B1 learners. All right, so we're talking about intermediate and lower intermediate. Okay, it's not for complete beginners. It's also not for those of you who are super advanced. Okay, what it does is it helps you bridge that intermediate gap that everybody gets stuck on, so you can get past the intermediate plateau and onto those coveted higher levels of fluency. This is what the program is designed to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is switch my screen over and walk you through some of the. I'm going to show you inside. Basically, if you've got any questions, go ahead and answer them, and go answer them. I'll answer them if I can. You can go ahead and ask them. All right then. So you should be able to see my screen. And so this is Grammar Hero right here. This is the kind of welcoming screen. So when you log in, this is what you get. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I won't show you everything. And I'm going to use the French one as an example. Okay. Again, remember we also have Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, and Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. I'll use the French as an example because it's just easiest to show you a specific example. All right, now, so what Grammar Hero does is it gives you this whole ecosystem of controlled immersion in the language. Okay, so, and it works through the power of story. As you know, I am big on stories. I've published books of stories. I have other programs that all built on story. Story for me is the most powerful way, the most powerful vehicle through which to learn a language, because what you could do is read and enjoy the story, and then language learning happens around the outskirts of that. Right, so Grammar Hero works based on story, and you have this mission map here. Okay, now what is this mission map? Well, every language has a certain number of core grammar points, which are tricky for foreigners to learn, but are also extremely important to speak the language properly, to communicate in the language. Now, in French, these are the pronouns I and en. You've got the past tenses. You have the conditional. You have the prepositions a and de. You have the phrase il y a, and you have the subjunctive mood. Now, these 7 parts here, it's not the only grammar in French, but if you are a native English speaker in particular, the other grammar that you have to learn at this level is not particularly difficult. Okay, so there's no point you spending lots of time on that because you'll learn that easily. All right. Now, on the other hand, these 7 points are always tricky for English-speaking learners of French, and so that's what we focus on. Now, in Grammar Hero, you have 15 different stories, and each story focuses on one of these particular grammar points. And in the story, you'll see tons and tons and tons and tons of examples of this grammar point, because we've written the stories to really spotlight these grammar points, to put these grammar points in the spotlight so that you can see one sentence, one paragraph after the other, how these grammar points are used. Right? You get totally immersed and your brain is flooded with this grammar in action. And that is why it is so powerful. So these are the different grammar points that you will follow on your on your path. Okay, Susanna says, maybe they are easier to teach, but you can't really use them in real life because they are hard to remember and there are too many of them. Exactly, Susanna. That's exactly the point. By teaching, which is referring to rules here. So the thing about rules is, for a teacher, they're easy to break down and teach into these little, Scott Thornberry calls them grammar McNuggets. It gives you the impression, it gives you the illusion that you're learning something. But that thing that you're learning doesn't actually help you do what you think it helps you to do, okay, which is to actually internalize the rule to the point where you can use it fluently in conversation, okay? So this is why we need a different way to approach the whole question of how to learn grammar. So in Grammar Hero, what you will do is you'll start each module with a story. The story is fin du monde, which is the end of the world. And you can see the graphics that we have here to show you that. The stories here are exciting, they are compelling, they're interesting. You will want to read them. All right? And this story here focuses on the subjunctive. All right, so again, you have a story, and you have the story focusing on one particular grammar point. Now, the first step is what I call discover. And again, there are very, very thorough instructions here, mission briefings, as I call them. The main point is this. You will read the story, and as you're reading it, your main task is to simply read and enjoy the story, to follow it for the beauty of the plot. But you'll notice here, especially if we zoom in a bit, that certain bits are very lightly underlined. Can you see that? Maybe you can let me know in the comments if you can see that or not. So certain parts of the story are underlined. Now, what is this? This is the focus of the grammar. Okay, our grammar focus. Remember, it was the subjunctive. And so, like I said before, the story is packed with the subjunctive. And what these light underlines do is they just guide you to notice that the subjunctive is being used. We're not teaching you anything here. There's no rules. I'm guiding your attention so you can notice that the subjunctive is being used. And here, quoi que vous fassiez, whatever you do, fassiez here in the subjunctive. And so at this point, what you're still doing is just trying to understand, read, and enjoy the story. At the same time, we have this guided discovery process going on, so that you're noticing the subjunctive being used. Okay, so that's what's happening. You keep reading, and then in the background, you will also you'll start to notice how the grammar is being used. So, after that, you probably want to listen to the audio. And of course, we have audio included with everything, so you can read and listen at the same time.
Malade, en bonne santé. Ce
I don't know if you can hear this audio
qui
or not.
compte, c'est que vous soyez en vie.
Okay. So you have the story and the audio. When you can read and listen at the same time, everything becomes more memorable. The next stage in the process, once you've just been immersed in this way, is then to make sure that you understand the basic principles of the subjunctive. Okay, so what we have here is an explanation of the subjunctive, but you'll notice this is not a huge grammar book full of rules and exercises and exceptions and blah, 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 blah. What we have is a very concise overview of what the subjunctive is, when it's used, and a few simple shortcuts to help you just remember it a little bit more easily. Okay, so at this point, what have we done? We've immersed ourselves in the story, the text and the audio. We've noticed where the grammar is being used. Understand the grammar. The next step is my favorite part of the whole thing, and I call it internalise. Now, what is internalise? Well, having read the story and understood the grammar, what you do now is you read the story again with the help of a teacher. So, what you'll notice here is that you've got these same bits underlined like before, the grammar in focus, and then you have an expert teacher who comes in and tells you why the grammar is being used in that particular point. All right? So here, again, this thing that we saw before, quoi que vous fassiez, why is the subjunctive being used there? Why not? You see, if you're reading by yourself, you might well get confused and you might not be sure what's going on. And so here, you have these expert insights from the teacher who comes in and tells you exactly why the subjunctive is being used. So now, what we've done is we've immersed ourselves in the story, we've listened to the audio, we're learning lots of stuff. We've made sure that we understand how the grammar works, and now we are rereading the story with expert insights to make sure that we understand exactly how and why the grammar is being used. This is just one story with the subjunctive. There are many more. The last step then is to start the process of activating what we've learned. Because the most important part of all of this is not that you can understand the grammar, but it's that you can use it in conversation. Okay, and so this obviously does not happen immediately, but we want to start to stimulate the process of you being able to activate it in your mind. Okay, so what we do here is we give you exercises that are focused on communication and activating that grammar. So for example, here we've got an exercise where we give you certain sentences, and then your task is to rewrite those sentences using the grammar point, using the subjunctive, so that it becomes it sounds like more natural spoken French. What this does is it makes you think, it forces you to output, and it just starts that transition process from understanding the grammar to actually being able to use it, so that when you actually go to speak with somebody then in the language, you don't need to translate from English because you've been spending all your time already in the target language. Very, very powerful. And this is the entire concept of Grammar Hero. You have, again, 15 different modules, each one focusing on a different story, many stories on the same grammar point. So, if all that you did was to spend 1 week on one story, so you do one story a week, but you go through it properly, you read and listen to it many, many times over, you fully understand the grammar focus, you go through the teacher insight so that you understand exactly why it's being used. If that's all you did for the next 90 days, you would have a transformative experience in terms of how you understand the grammar of the language. All right? So this is Grammar Hero. Isn't that cool? This is what I've been working on for a long time, and it's now out. So if you'd like to pick up a copy or just find out more, you can go to iwillteachyoualanguage.com/Grammar Hero, all one word. I'll put this in the video description. I should probably type it in here as well so that you guys can see it. Remember, like I said, we have 6 languages: French, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, and Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese. So there's something for not everybody, because there are hundreds of languages in the world, but at least those 6 fairly popular languages. So there we go. I hope that was enlightening, and even if you decide not to enroll in Grammar Hero, at least what you've seen here is the process that experienced language learners go through in order to internalize grammar. It is not sitting down, studying rules, practicing them until you're blue in the face. It is immersing yourself in content in the language, and then using that content to inform your understanding of grammar and to gradually then develop that natural internal understanding of how it works. Once you've got that, then it's the most natural thing in the world to go off and speak in the language without translating in your head, without thinking, without hesitating, without getting nervous about making grammar mistakes, because you're just used to it. All right, so thanks so much, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the comments. I will come back and answer all of them later. It's good to see all of you. Thales, Oscar, Susanna, Roberto, Joseph, Daisy. Joseph says, good afternoon, Ollie. Having several language exchanges this afternoon, and grammar will be practiced. Good man. That's what we want to see. Lily, Mariam, great to see all of you. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you. When will I see you? I'll see you soon. If not inside the Grammar Hero area.